Silverback Tax Solutions specializes in dealing with IRS tax problems. If you are receiving threatening letters from the IRS, or if the IRS has placed liens or levies on your property, Silverback Tax Solutions can help you find relief. We have worked with hundreds of people to resolve their tax problems. If you're behind on filing your taxes, it's never too late to get on the right track. Silverback Tax Solutions can help with that also. Don't let another night go by where you lose sleep worrying about the IRS or your taxes. Head over to www.silverbacttax.com or call 662-996-4357 and contact an enrolled agent today. We can help you gain peace of mind and deal with those problems for you.
With the photo finish at the line and cars upside down at Daytona, this season kicked off with a truly unpredictable, exciting race for these Gen 4 Cup cars at the Daytona International Speedway. Tonight we are in for another crapshoot as the competitors in the Rolling Thunder Racing Series roll into Las Vegas for the Silverback Tax Solutions 210. Hello everyone and welcome to Las Vegas for round number 2 of the Rolling Thunder Racing Series live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Samuel Ryman, and alongside me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided to us by Dougie Beard. Back at the time the Gen 4 cars raced here, this was considered a cookie-cutter track, one of a 1.5-mile racetracks. However, it's been resurfaced since then, and that's made this track a lot faster and a lot more exciting. Let's show you what it's like with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Sin City and Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The sprawling motorsports complex located 20 minutes northeast of the Strip is home to some of the nicest racing facilities in the nation. Known as the Diamond in the Desert, the crown jewel of this facility is the 1.5-mile D-shaped oval constructed in 1996. In 2006, LVMS underwent massive changes, upping the banking in the corners from 12 to 20 degrees and installing progressive banking in the process. The result? One of the most competitive stock car circuits on the iRacing service. Vegas races like a mini restrictor plate track now, with stock cars and trucks alike often spread 2 and 3 wide, several rows deep, several laps into a tire run. The D-shaped front stretch allows for side-by-side racing action to continue down onto the apron as well, and both corners provide equal opportunity to set up a run on the top side or dive down under an opponent on the bottom. Starts and restarts here are especially action-packed, truly one of the most diverse ovals on the iRacing service. In 2018, NASCAR added a second Cup Series date to this track, giving the facility a pair of triple-header weekends with Cup cars, Xfinity, and trucks all competing. Well, that's our look at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's time to roll the dice. Enjoy the show.
Well, there's everything you need to know about the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But Joey, taking a look at this track layout here, what are your thoughts on this circuit?
Well, you said it was a crapshoot. There's going to be a lot of craps being played here at Las Vegas during this 20-degree mile and a half. Call it a tri-oval, a D-shaped tri-oval, but yeah, you're right. A little bit cookie cutter. The Gen 4 cars didn't really race on this exact surface like we were talking about prior to the show. So it'll be interesting to see what the tire conservation method is going to be. But for the most part, it is a relatively straightforward mile and a half oval, 20 degrees in both 1, 2, 3, and 4. So no variable banking there. The start finish is right smack in the middle. So in terms of just making a mile and a half, this is Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
About 10 minutes until race start, qualifying going on right now, and then they'll be followed by a warm-up. Let's give you an idea of who we're going to be seeing competing in this series. Here are the driver standings following the opening round at Daytona. Of course, just one race in the season means these point standings are pretty much finishing positions at the opening round of its 20-round championship. And I always like it, Joey, when winning a race gives you a nice handful of points more than the driver who gets second.
I was just going to point that out myself, is that you win the race, you're 10 points ahead of second place, because look at that. It is pretty much a single point per position after that. It does spread out a little bit between a few of these competitors, but you're right. Winning is what it's all about here in Rolling Thunder, and you got to remember there's $1,000 on the line after the end of all 20 races this season.
But in order to win that $1,000, these are the things you're going to have to conquer. 20 rounds, as we've established. These are long races. 140 laps in the NASCAR Gen 4 car. That's the car back in the early 2000s, before the car of tomorrow and all that came along. These are fixed setups, so some drivers might prefer them a little bit more than others, but it should keep us with a tight field. No spare car. If you get in a crash, you hope you got a good pit crew down there in the pits to get it fixed for you. 3 total tyre sets. Now that one's going to be interesting today because we anticipate a 3-stop race based on fuel, so you're pretty much forced to take in tyres each time. And if there is a late caution, we will get 1 attempt at a green-white checkered.
I think the biggest thing that stood out to me there in terms of the strategy, Sam, was you're pointing out it's pretty much a 3-stop race, and that's how many tires you have. Well, what if you get into trouble early, if we have an early yellow flag or something and you want to come down and take those tires or had an early spin? It certainly puts you with a mountain to climb from there on out.
Look how close it is in qualifying at the top of the board. All of these drivers have attracted themselves for 5 minutes. They all basically have their own sim session going on right now where they can try and turn their best lap time in 2 laps, cut the apron there on your second lap, try and make a track as short as possible. And you can see the top 3 there are 1/1000th of a second separating them. Now, in the real world, when you see a tie like that at the top of the standings between Colin Weatherholt and Randall Nichols, the pole position will go to the driver who turned that lap first. However, in iRacing, in our computer world, we can simulate it down to the 10,000th of a second. So I think normally that's how it's determined, is whoever has the fastest time to the 4th decimal.
I cannot believe how close these lap times are out here. It is incredible. And really, if you want to learn more about the Rolling Thunder series, tune in to the Burn 'Em Down podcast. It's for all things Rolling Thunder. Tune in Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern for the Burn 'Em Down podcast with Greg Drives out there. It's available on Greg's Drives YouTube channel, Twitch channel, Spotify, SiriusXM, and tune in on Apple. If you've been watching any of the Rolling Thunder money races that GSRC has been broadcasting, you'll also be excited to know that on November 16th, it's the Battle of the Teams. You're seeing it right here. The winning team takes home $1,000 cash. It's the same Gen 4 series cars. This is a really, really exciting event. They always put on these big-time money races out here, so it's pretty cool. Between the podcast and also these money series, I think that Rolling Thunder, they've got a good thing going out here, Sam. And when you have this kind of momentum going here in sim racing, you got people talking about it, you got money on the line. It just seems to draw in more competitors. It doesn't matter if you signed up at the beginning of the season. It seems like there's always something going on here.
Well, what's going on now is warm-up. Qualifying has concluded. We will read out the grid for you. We'll tell you that Colin Weatherholt has taken pole. We'll also tell you that our championship lead, our Daytona winner, Jason Maines, has not qualified too well. He is down in 18th. But 1 week ago, he was a very happy man at Daytona. Let's take a look back at the race highlights.
I can't believe that didn't bring out a caution. Nobody got turned sideways on the racing line. They let it run. Here we go. White flag. We are going to finish under green with the official stated laps of 90 laps. And it is Everhart leading. Nichols second. Mains in third.
Yeah, Everhart's got a good run, good push from him on the outside. But, 12's got the inside line, 39 coming up on him. Let's see what they do here.
Reed's still in this too. Don't forget about he's going to give a big push up along the outside. No friends for Everhart. He falls backwards. Up to the front now goes Randall Nichols. Didn't expect him to be one of those in contention for the victory, but he was hovering around the front. He starts to lose out now. Everhart trying to hook up with anybody. No, he gets turned. He's going to be in a huge wreck as he gets turned over and down to the line. Mains with a nose ahead is going to win the opening round of the Rolling Thunder Racing Series. The Tailgaters 225 sees an incredible finish come down to 200ths of a second.
Well, a photo finish at the season opener at Daytona and 1/1000th of a second separating the top three cars in qualifying here at Las Vegas. So things are off to a very tight start at the start of the season. A 5-minute warm-up session open right now, although I must confess there's not a whole lot of cars on track. I think these drivers are taking their final bathroom break here, getting ready for 140 laps of racing action. And it's going to be an interesting one, Joey. A long race and not a lot of tires to use.
It's funny you mentioned the bathroom break. I've always told people, might not be the most appropriate time, but if you want your favorite driver's autograph, if you want to meet them, go stand next to the closest porta-john there on pre-grid, because I guarantee you it'll be the last stop before they get into the race car. But you're right. It's a beautiful evening here in Las Vegas. We're ready for some racing. There aren't that many cars out there on the warm-up circuit right now, so I think we're just kind of killing time, and I don't blame them for having to go to the bathroom, maybe catch their breath a little bit. You were mentioning the top three cars within 1/1000th of a second in qualifying. And I think I was even reading that there is a handful of cars, maybe even close to the top 10, that are all within 1/10th of a second in qualifying, Sam.
Yeah, the entire field separated by just 1 second. Again, pole sitters Colin Weatherholt, and alongside him will be Randall Nichols. We will read out the grid for you momentarily here. Still waiting to see if anyone will get out onto the racetrack, but doesn't look like it's going to happen. So what are you expecting here, Joey, when these cars thunder off into turn one for the first time? Because these Gen 4 cars, they're not kind of slowed down and restricted like the current NASCAR Cup cars are. They have a lot of power in them, but at the same time, it's Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's a little bit of a new track surface. It's got some grip in it. So these drivers, some of them might be close to flat out here on the opening lap.
I'm going to draw it back to the point that you talked about during the race analysis, is the amount of tires that the drivers have available. Combine that with being able to stretch it about 40 laps on fuel. Is there any alternate strategies that can take place depending on the yellow flags that happen, the full course yellows that happen? How much do you burn up those tires? You mentioned these are kind of the happy accidents with the big time motors inside of these cars, so they will go literally thundering off into turn one. I'm curious, who charges early, who burns their stuff up early, or who is patient and waits for the race to come to them?
So this is the Silverback Tax Solutions 210. And as we mentioned, the pole sitters, Colin Weatherholt to buy 0.000, and then maybe something after that, 0 seconds over Randall Nichols in second place on the grid. Jason Tamer will be starting from third place ahead of Dylan Jones in fourth. Matthew Molnar will start fifth. Alongside him will be Scott Crump, Trevor Williams and Ryan Johnson round out the top 8, and Michael Larch and Jacob Manning round out the top 10. All of those cars covered by just about 1/10 of a second.
Then in 11th place, we have Daniel Eberhardt. Jared Mogard going to be lined up alongside of him in row number 6. Lane Doyle starting in 13th with John Ellis Jr. next to him in 14th. Row number 8 consists of Dean Gagliano with Matthew Robinson next to him in 16th. Darwin Hansen, 17th position. Jason Mains lined up next to him in 18th. Sean Corcoran in 19th, and Drew Ballesteros will share row number 10 and 20th.
And we've got 24 cars here today. Brenton Barker, Luke Smith, Jared Haynes and Joshua Suss rounding out our 24 car field. All of them qualified within 1 second of another. Very strong wind from the southwest here, so our drivers will be forced to contend with that, and you can see it's fluctuating as well. It's gusting a little bit, so they'll have to contend with that as well. I'm looking at the iRating, the caliber of the drivers in this field. I see several quite high up there. We've got 4,000s, we've got 5,000s, we've got nobody under 1,000. I think 1,200 is the lowest I see out there, and again, when it comes to league racing, a low iRating doesn't necessarily mean much, because some of these drivers may opt to just do hosted races or league races and might not necessarily be out there padding their iRating. Cars getting underway for just one pace lap here at Las Vegas, and then we will be racing for 140 laps.
I think the biggest story that I'm seeing just right off the bat here as we get going for round 2. Remember, we're at 1.5 miles. Super speedway racing is totally different. Be ready for different names that are going to migrate towards the front. I see Jason Maines, our Daytona winner, all the way back there, close to 20th. I think I see him back there in 18th spot. So going to have to be careful of where you're going to be racing if you want those points championship days. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Colin Weatherholt, brand new to the series, is on pole. Watch out for that number 20.
Here we go, we've got one on board, Jacob Manning racing in virtual reality. I have not given that a try yet, but it's obviously working for him, qualifying up there in the top 10. In the field working their way through turns 3 and 4 now. The pace truck will make a hard the left turn down into the safety of pit road, and then the field will be in control. Colin Weatherholt will have them here. And there's Barney, the iRacing flag man, getting ready to drop the green flag for 140 laps here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Here we go. Oh, there's a spin already from 4, and several other cars involved. Caution out immediately. This is a big one.
Well, talk about thinning the field even before we get to turn number 1. I think this started from about row number 3 on the outside. Didn't quite catch the car number. I believe it might have been the number 3 car of Dylan Jones, actually, when I go back and kind of recall. But these Gen 4 cars, they got plenty of horsepower. Wheel spin is an issue, and I was wrong. It wasn't the 3rd row. It was the 2nd row, Sam.
Yeah, he got wheel spin. I'm watching it in slow motion. He got wheel spin, and that's, you'll see here, he was out of shape before he even got hit from behind, and he clears. You know, he might be able to get away with that. It's the cars from 6th on back that kind of got parked in the racing line there in the middle of the circuit that kind of triggered the multi-car incident we saw.
Yeah, and this is from Darwin Hansen. Let's see, does Darwin get collected? Just gets into the 21. I actually want to ride on board. I believe it was the number 11 car that was right behind Dylan Jones. And what's going to happen? We were talking about the wheel spin. They get the green flag. You're going to see the car right in front just have this huge wiggle, and there's no forward momentum. From then on out, it's a chain reaction.
Yeah, and if you think this is going to mess things up for the drivers, the other thing, it's not necessarily an iRacing glitch. It's just something we have to contend with on iRacing. When a caution comes out this quickly, some drivers may or may not be waved around the pace truck based on where they were at the time the caution flew. So we'll see how that works out. Did Jason Maines get through this? Carnage on the left, one car on the right. Oh yeah, he did a nice job getting it wound up and getting it through all there.
Gonna be about saving your car in the case of Jason Maines. Remember, he won just a week ago at Daytona, so if you want to keep collecting those championship points, I know 20 races is a long time, and you can have the mentality of, you know what, this one didn't start off well, I can use a drop or something like that, but it's always best to just keep on charging your championship efforts often. They're not made by your best days on the racetrack. It's about limiting the bleeding, limiting the mistakes on those days that don't necessarily go your way.
All right, so what's going on here? You can see the drivers from 8th and 9th on back, that they're pretty much on the tail end of a lead lap. Again, this is a little bit of a glitch that happens with iRacing here when the caution comes out so early in the race. So they're actually debating with race control what's going to happen here. What normally happens is all these drivers who have been told to stay behind the pace truck that are on the tail end of a lead lap, they'll get a wave around. And it wouldn't. A nice thing about hosted and league races on iRacing is if anyone has gotten screwed over by having the pit and going a lap down when, you know, in the real world they would have been behind the pace truck, they could have pit and stayed on the lead lap, that the officials will be able to wave them around the pace truck. So obviously there's no virtual debris to clear out there, but the caution is being extended while the race officials here try and work out what the best thing is to do to make sure we have a fair restart with as many cars in contention as possible.
If you want to talk more about the Silverback Tax Solutions 210, go listen to the Burn 'em Down podcast. It's really for all things Rolling Thunder. Tune in Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern for the Burn 'em Down podcast with Greg Dreiss. It's available on Twitch, Spotify, Sirius XM. You can even tune in on Apple and YouTube. So if you like watching this series, if you like talking about iRacing, if you like just the Gen 4 car in general, go tune in every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern with Greg. Like I said, the Burn 'em Down podcast. Can listen to it anywhere. It's always fun to talk about racing, even after we've gotten to go do it here on the virtual level, and it's always fun. It's just new ways to connect to people, new ways to talk about racing, and that's what we're all here for, is that we are all racers at heart, and not only do we like to compete, but it's a social outlet for us as well, and it's great to see all this stuff that's going on with Rolling Thunder.
So we saw a lot of cars caught up in the wreck, and a lot of drivers being shown on our timing and scoring a lap down, but again that could be unfairly, and so that's why we're getting wave arounds. But what about the cars who were legitimately involved in an incident? How many people are having a bad day? Well, the driver in 24th and last right now is Dean Gagliano, and I'm looking at his number 18 machine, and it's got a big hole in the front, so even though that can continue, that's going to be affecting his aerodynamics.
You don't ever want any sort of body damage, even on a mile and a half. These cars are hauling the mail out there. And I think the other oddity that I see on timing and scoring, other than Scott Crump falling way down, Sam, check out the number 43, Sean Corcoran. He is up 13 positions from that start. He must have been able to sneak his way through that wreck somehow.
Yeah, it's probably a lot. Yeah, that is a nice way to gain a whole lot of positions. Again, seeing a lot of cars in front of him, because a lot of them should get the wave around when we get our one to go here, which hopefully is coming in 1 or 2 laps time. Not the kind of start we were hoping here at Las Vegas. It certainly isn't representative of the skill level of these drivers, because I think from what I saw, Joey, it was quite a clean season open at Daytona until the final lap, but that's to be expected at Daytona.
It is super speedway racing. Sometimes you got to pay that tax, and oftentimes it does happen on the last lap. But to talk about today's race, we will get going here. Yes, a little bit of an oddity to have the yellow flag before we even get to turn number 1, but these cars don't have a lot of traction, and they have a whole lot of horsepower. So I think that these drivers, they came out of qualifying, they knew how close the times were. They were just amped to get going out there. Maybe a little bit too amped, and they just stood on that loud pedal. Unfortunately, caused a big wreck before we could really get some racing started out here in Vegas.
So I've been looking through the field at other drivers who might be having damage that will affect them aerodynamically. The number 77 of Brenton Barker looks like it has a similar little punch in the nose of that car. And then I think also the number 1 car of Trevor Williams, I was seeing a bit of damage on that, and that's not good news for Trevor, because he's actually up in 8th place. Now, the drivers, yeah, there you see the damage on the nose of that 1 car. The drivers who have been coming into the pits, I would hope, Joey, that they all have the sense of mind to turn off tyres to make sure that they're not using up a set of tyres here. You definitely don't want to be doing that before we're even 6 laps into this race.
That's also a great point that you bring up. Now, here in iRacing, the driver, they are responsible for all of those pit calls. In real life, you have a crew chief on the box. He's on the radio in command of, hey, do we need 2 tires? Do we need 4 tires? We fixing the damage? Somebody is doing that. But here in the sim, it is all up to the competitor. So you're right. If you don't have that fast repair unchecked, you could come down into pit lane and unwillingly use that before you really need it. I like to think of those fast repairs, Sam, kind of like a lifeline that you don't want to use them too early. They're there to help you. If you need to use them early, you can. But if you do use them up, they're not there to save you at the end when you potentially could really need it.
The lights were off on the pace truck, but we have a couple of cars still ahead of number 20 there that need to wave around. Now, iRacing will give the drivers on the tail end of a lead lap here a wave around when they get the one to go. Obviously, once we get those 2 cleared, the field should double file and we will be going back racing here. Again, a bit of a sluggish start to this race. So that being said, it's a 140 lap race, so we should get plenty of running in. And we'll see if this affects anyone's strategy. We anticipate these drivers get into about lap 40 on fuel. That was before this caution happened. And that's because we have a limited fuel tank. They have extended this by a couple more laps.
And the best way I can describe to anybody watching what's happening is there was a bunch of cars that needed to get around the pace car. And once again, in standard real-life racing, it's just a radio call. Pass the cars, get them around the pace car. But here in iRacing, got to do it manually, 1 car at a time. So the admins, the race controls, just making sure that we have a perfectly set grid. Everything is ready for the competitors in a fair manner, because we got to remember there is money on the line here. So the last thing you want to do is give somebody an unfair advantage. Just hats off to these guys in this series, doing a really good job making sure everything is run properly.
Well, we should just have 1 or 2 laps of caution left here now. Everyone has received their wave arounds. Everyone's on the lead lap. What about the race order? Well, the top 3 are in the order that they started, and then 4th place got involved in the wreck, so things get a little bit messy after that. Matthew Molnar moves up from 5th to 4th. Ryan Johnson has moved up a few spots. Daniel Eberhardt has moved up a few spots. But then we get to Dylan Jones and Trevor Williams, and again, I'm a little concerned for Trevor Williams in 8th place because he has a bit of damage to the nose of his car. Okay, so this is why they've extended it by 2 laps. I think the lights are not going to go off pace track. They're not. We're being told they've added a lap of caution, and the reason was, even though yes, everyone's back on the lead lap and we could have gone back racing next lap, they've spent all this time trying to get everyone so they can fairly be back on the lead lap before they open pit road for scheduled pit stops. So that's what's happening now. Some drivers coming in to get repairs, maybe top off their fuel. I'm not sure tyres is a smart call this early on in the race. Yeah, you can see the 11 car here of Scott Crump not going up on the jacks, probably just getting some damage repaired, getting fuel in that Dodge Charger, and then they'll be able to rejoin the field. And so that's why this caution's stay in a couple extra laps now, is to give everyone a chance to get some repairs before we go back to green flag racing.
I understand that concept. I get it. However, you know, we didn't even get to turn number 1 on the green flag. I'm not sure why we need to extend it after the cars have been waved around to make sure everybody gets a chance to come in, considering we didn't even get to turn number 1. But that's okay. We will get this race going eventually. And honestly, right now, it's been all the pace truck out front, Sam. Lap leader. Actually, you know, you could argue pole sitter because he did lead the field around, and he's coming around to lead lap number 10 here, doing just a terrific job in control at the front of this field.
Yeah, he's not deviating from that racing line at all, but the lights go off, so he is giving up on the race lead at the end of his lap. He's going to come in for a pit stop and let the drivers retake control. So it looks like an old-fashioned single-file restart here.
Sometimes they'll do this just to help clean things up a little bit. Oftentimes you'll see them go from double file to single file if they have a yellow within the first lap or two out there. So this is pretty standard stuff that they'll go to a single file restart. And the thing that is important to note, they'll probably line up along the top side of the racetrack. Here in iRacing, you can't pass below a car. So that's why everybody lines up top to try to negate that run coming from behind.
Okay, so just got confirmation from our director that this is the old style, the Gen 4 style rule package, where we have lapped cars restarting on the load line, like they did before we had double file restarts. Well, hopefully nobody will spin their tires this time and we can get some green flag racing in. Colin Weatherholt, again in control of the field. The pace truck has been in control of the field until now, but not anymore. Barney gonna get him ready to wave a green flag. Let's see if everyone can get up to speed without any incidents this time. Here we go. Jason Tanner wasting no time getting on the move. He's quickly up into second place. Matthew Molnar following through into third place. The 69 of Randall Nichols, who's second in the points, finished second at Daytona, started second in this race. He's back to fourth.
Biggest thing I'm noticing too, the 81 of Jason Tamer really used more of an arcing line going into turn number 1, taking the same approach here into turn number 3, really try to late apex these big oval rounding corners, but actually the 81 actually tagged the wall right there, coming out of 4.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers on the ragged edge. He really wants this race lead. Some drivers up toward the back, they might be saving their tires for the long run, but not these guys up the front, using all the racetrack, and we have a side-by-side battle for the lead.
See what happens. The 81 dives it off into turn number 3. I think Colin Weatherholt is plenty fine with letting Jason Tamer and the 81 go up there and lead the race right now. It seems like the 81 might be on some rails, might be using up his stuff a little bit early. Only time will tell.
Looks like Darwin Hansen is out of a race after the opening lap calamity. We have a massive pack of cars for 15th on back. They're all running 3 wide, so I know we've got some exciting racing going on 5th there, side by side, but look at the back here. Some of these drivers have damage, so they're all trying to get themselves sorted out, but it's been quite adventurous here for these guys.
You guys see the 77 of Brenton Banker on the outside there. Also Jared Mogard involved. This is Sean Corcoran in the 43. We were mentioning him a little bit earlier as well, but you are right. It's a giant scrum back here. Doesn't matter if you're fighting for the lead or back here in 15th place. It is tooth and nail racing for every position.
Third place up for grabs again. Matthew Molnar has it. Randall Nichols, who dropped back a little bit on the restart, he wants it. 2 Chevy Impalas side by side on the front straight. You can certainly use that apron. That is fair game in NASCAR racing at speedway circuits, but it's not going to work for the 69 this time.
Right on board with Lane Doyle in the number 32 car. This is back here in the 12th place, and something to notice, the position that Lane is in, he's got cars 2 wide in front of him, but also just a train of cars in front of that. He is dealing with a ton of dirty air. That's going to be a talking point. Not only the horsepower and controlling it with your right foot, but keeping the nose on the racetrack. The dirty air definitely plays a part with these cars.
Darwin Hansen, as we mentioned, pretty much out of contention. And our leader just hit the wall. Jason Tamer just hit the wall going down the back straight. He still holds the lead, but that could damage his car, cost him a bit of time.
Remember, I said that the 81 also scraped the wall coming out of turn 4 earlier as we get the GSRC replay. As he arcs it off into turn number 1, I've noticed he doesn't quite get down to the white line like Colin Weatherholt does. Let's see how much he tracks it up off of turn number 2. And It doesn't look like a very big impact, Sam, but that's already the second impact that right rear quarter panel's had with the wall. Got to be careful with it not to get any more damage.
Yeah, I like to call it the Angry Birds effect. You know, you just keep throwing the Angry Birds at a piece of wood eventually, and eventually it'll break. You just keep hitting that wall eventually, and eventually something on the car is going to say, nope. So the 28 of Hansen is back out on circuit. He's 5 laps down, but all 24 cars still in this race. I think he might have actually had some kind of connection issue. Dean Gagliano, the number 18 who was involved in that opening lap wreck, he is still on the lead lap, but off the pace as our field continues to circle, and we continue to have great battles coming out of turn 4.
Yeah, 54, Drew Ballesteros squeezing Trevor Williams up there coming out of turn number 4. Still side by side, and really, even Lane Doyle back here in the 32. He's way up top towards the wall. One cool thing about these Gen 4 cars is that you really can turn them with your right foot with the accelerator. So I think you'll see a lot of different varying lines between cars that'll go way down on that white line versus ones that'll rim ride it all the way up along top, kind of like riding the cushion.
So Trevor Williams, that damage on the front of his number 1 Chevy is not affecting him at all. Again, we were reading off cars involved in that opening lap incident that looked like they still had damage. Number 1 is one of those, but even though that's right on the nose, he's holding his own in the top 10.
Doing a good job there in that number 1 car. However, he does have a little bit of a gap between himself and Matthew Robinson, that next car up. So even though that he is doing a good job with that damaged race car, I wonder if it is holding him back just a little bit as we are getting that gap to our lead. And check this out, side by side for the 3rd place position. I've noticed, and actually Matthew Molnar got into the wall, not too reminiscent of what our leader did a couple laps ago.
Yeah, I kind of like what Randall Nichols is doing here. He restarted 2nd, immediately dropped back to 4th, but he's not really pushing it toward the wall, or at least I haven't seen him have any heavy moments unlike other drivers up here in the top 5. So we'll see as we enter the second half of his first run. We'll see if he's able to rally his way up there and fight with the top 2.
And to talk a little bit more about that, Sam, I've been noticing that 69, the white and blue car, Randall Nichols, he just made the pass, and he had been very patient, kind of like what you were mentioning. He wasn't really getting his elbows out at all. He was poking his nose in a couple laps earlier, and he just waited for that pass to come to him. And it's important to note, this car started 2nd. That was an equal time to our pole sitter of Colin Weatherholt. I really feel like any of these cars inside the top 5 here, they have the outright pace to go out and win this race. It's just, right now, how are you taking care of your tires?
Well, I was a little bit concerned for our race leader that he wouldn't be taking care of his tyres or his car after we saw him knock a wall down a couple of times. But here we are, 24 laps into this race, starting lap 25 now, and he's still holding a healthy half a second lead. And he has an overall I rating of 5,000, so I can't really tell him how to drive.
I don't think that I could tell any of these guys how to drive either, especially in the sim. Sam, I watch you in those Lotus 79 cars, and I think that you do a terrific job out there. I think that even you would put me to shame easily.
Yeah, these aren't Lotus 79 cars, though. But, everyone, check out the Classic Team Championship Series here on GSRC Sunday mornings. It's always a lot of fun, or at least it's fun when I beat other cars, which I did today. So yeah, check out. Talking about beating cars, that car got beat up on its right side. What number is that?
And that's your car. That's the Trevor Williams car that you've been talking about, all that nose damage. Put some side damage on it as well.
All right, look at Jacob Manning, how concentrated he is. Is he going to glance to the right at all as he's passing these guys? No, he's just keeping his head focused forward. What's ahead of him? Doesn't need to worry about those cars anymore. They're in his rear view.
He is wearing that virtual reality headset, and you're right, he's focused forward, and I think that's where he needs to be. And Sam, you were mentioning you haven't tried the virtual reality stuff. Whenever I'm in the sim, that's what I use is virtual reality. And the best way I can describe it is It's literally like putting on your helmet, and when you open your eyes, you're just kind of transported in the cockpit of that race car you're going out to do laps in.
Good grief, another Jacob Manning. Is he like shooting out Mario Kart weapons at the cars ahead of him? Everyone ahead of him's knocking the wall down. 39 of Luke Smith was the one who did it that time.
Consistency sometimes pays off, and right through the middle goes Jacob Manning. You're right, he's just kind of tearing up this field right now, straight up into the top 10. He's been using that apron through the tri-oval, I noticed, every single lap. And here comes another car that's on the charge, Daniel Eberhardt. He's made his way around Matthew Molnar and now trying to the inside of Randall Nichols for third.
One of our biggest movers of a race, started 11th, probably gained a few positions there with that opening lap carnage, but now he has worked his way up to third. Who is the biggest mover? Oh, there we are, Smith. So even though he hit the wall a little bit ago, he's still up 10 positions.
And I think of that front group there, I was noticing Randall Nichols as well as Daniel Eberhardt. Those two names, and you know, I think it's Eberhardt. I think I've been mispronouncing it this whole time. I'm sorry, Daniel. But they were the two best in terms of finishing at Daytona. So good points runs, even though we're only on lap 30 of 140.
Yeah, this is the 18. We mentioned earlier that he had sustained quite a bit of damage in that opening lap wreck. He's now going down the lap, but obviously kind of hoping for a quick caution. He'll be able to get the lucky dog, wave around back on the lead lap, get some of that damage repaired. But right now, I mean, it was an ugly opening to the race that kept us under caution for about 10 laps, but it's been clean and green since, knock on wood.
Really, it's
unless you're Gagliano. In that case, then don't knock on wood.
Maybe Dean just needs to go down to the Vegas Strip a few miles down the road and start shooting some craps down there, maybe getting some money back. But I've been pretty impressed. You're right. Ever since the slow kind of start to this race, it's been extremely clean. Really impressed with Jason Tamer out front. He's just been in control the whole time. Colin Weatherholt sat there in second place, but I think now the rest of the pack is starting to close in on those two.
Yeah, now there's two kinds of oval setups. There's the fixed oval setups. There's a fixed oval setup that gets tight in the long run. There's a fixed oval setup that gets loose in the long run. Which one do these drivers have today? Well, I guess we're going to find out when the second half of a run. I haven't seen anyone fighting for control on the exit, so it's probably one of their tighter ones.
And we're here, lap 33, coming to lap 34. Remember what that fuel window was. On green flag, they can make it to about 40 laps. So they don't need to pit at lap 40. I suspect they could probably stretch it to about 45 or 50. Is actually Colin Weatherholt just got a shove from the 69 of Randall Nichols going into turn number 1. He's ran in second place, but now this hungry pack of sharks is going to eat him up.
Yeah, well, if they think they're being held up for second place, and whenever you see a train of cars like this, it normally means someone's being held up. They're seeing the leader start the stretch track lead. Tamer as Ryan Johnson, the first to make his scheduled stop. This is kind of early. I'm pretty sure he could go longer on fuel than this, but maybe he's trying to attempt some kind of Formula One style undercut here on those newer tires.
I am looking at lap times. They have fallen off not quite a second, but about 3/4 of a second. So maybe if you're not comfortable with the car moving around a lot underneath you, it's worth it to come down and get those tires just for the confidence and hope for some yellow flags later. However, if I'm calling race strategy, I don't want to bank on a yellow later. I want it to happen to help me. I don't want to have to rely on it.
Lane Doyle also in the pits. I think saw another car coming in as well. So once one came in, they're all kind of following. They don't want to get caught out there on old tires, losing multiple positions. Is that our leader coming in? It is indeed.
Very interesting. The 81, Jason Tamer, dives to pit lane. His last lap time was a 31.3 for reference. Everybody else behind was doing 31.4s or slower. We're going to have to see if this shorter pit stop, the rubber, is going to pay off in terms of the lap time, or if these cars that are out there on the racetrack stretching it on fuel, see if this seesaw battle is going to pay off. I'd be curious, does the number 20 of Colin Weatherholt come this time, or does he stay out? Nichols and Weatherholt to pit lane.
Pit road's getting very busy. Now, you do lose a lap in the pits here under green flag conditions, but of course you can always get that back with a wave around.
Curious to see how the 81 of Jason was able to handle the in and out laps. It's so crucial in order to hold the lead out here as we ride along board with the number 90 who hits pit road. See if he can get this thing slowed up. These are big old cars and they have tiny little brakes on them.
Jason Tamer, he really knows what he's doing out here, because I was watching him coming off a pit exit and you can see him just flying by the cars that haven't pit yet on all the tires. This is how much those tires are making a difference, and he's just flying by them left and right. But boy, he was so close to getting the black flag for coming out onto the track too early. There's a blue cone on the back straight. If you haven't played iRacing before, it's got to be careful about that STP car, whether it's going to pit or not. If we stay on board here, you'll see coming out of turn 2, there's a blue cone on the apron, and you cannot merge onto the racetrack until you go by that blue cone. I was watching him on pit exit, and he called it to perfection. He was right there on the white line as he exited the pits.
I want to talk more about pit lane oddities with you, Sam, because I also noticed that Randall Nichols, he didn't necessarily have the best stop, was a little bit slow. Colin Weatherholt was able to jump him in pit lane. However, Randall Nichols went to the inside on the apron to pass Colin Weatherholt back before they even got to that blue cone on the straightaway that you were talking about. So a couple of really fun things happening on the outlap.
Oh, contact! Spin! That was the 15. He was in the leader. He hadn't pit yet, and caution flies.
Oh, wow. We have, let's see here, 6 cars that have not pitted yet, and the rest of the field 1 lap down as we get a GSRC replay. Sam, you caught this one. What happened out of turn 2?
Well, he hasn't pit yet. He's a race leader. And Jason Tamer, oh, it was so Tamer's got damage. He just came up on him so fast.
Well, and it's really important to note here, okay? The Rolling Thunder series, they're pretty strict about how they call their yellows and who is basically at fault for them. I know if you cause a caution, you will get an end-of-line penalty. It'll be curious to see how race control handles this situation. This could have flipped Jason Tamer's race on its lid.
Yeah, Tamer's on the radio, but from what I saw, I think it's his fault. I mean, granted he's faster, but it's not like Jared Mogard made any erratic moves, and it's a car behind. It's their responsibility to make a safe overtatement.
I couldn't agree more with you. Even though he's got faster rubber, it is still the passing car's responsibility to do it in a safe manner. So yeah, I totally agree. I don't like saying this, but yeah, Jason Tamer just flat out ran the car over. He didn't do it intentionally. It was just a misjudged gap on the right rear quarter panel, and unfortunately, it resulted in the contact of our leader.
Okay, sorry, I wondered why everyone was getting bunched up there on pit entry. Our new race leader, Sean Corcoran, in the 43, I think he has run out of fuel. And so everyone, that's why you saw them all bunched up there, 3 and 4 wide going through turn 4, because they were told they couldn't pass this car, but he's run out of fuel, so they're probably all going to get black flags for that, but the league officials can clear those, and that is a toe into his pit stall for the 43. That is not a good turn of events there for Sean.
Oh my goodness. Hey, Sam, have you seen this many odd things happening at the beginning of a race between the yellow and having to wave the cars around, and now this stuff happening on the outlaps of the green flag stops as well as this? It's been one, hasn't it?
It certainly has. So it might take him a couple more laps to get everything sorted out here. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with you in just a few moments here on the GSRC for the Silverback Tax Solutions 210.
Silverback Tax Solutions specializes in dealing with IRS tax problems. If you are receiving threatening letters from the IRS, or if the IRS has placed liens or levies on your property, Silverback Tax Solutions can help you find relief. We have worked with hundreds of people to resolve their tax problems. If you're behind on filing your taxes, it's never too late to get on the right track. Silverback Tax Solutions can help with that also. Don't let another night go by where you lose sleep worrying about the IRS or your taxes. Head over to www.silverbacttax.com or call 662-996-4357 and contact an enrolled agent today. We can help you gain peace of mind and deal with those problems for you.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
If you are loving the Gen 4 cars, we've got another event for you. Battle of the Teams from the same people here at Rolling Thunder. Another money race at Daytona. November 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern. The winning team takes home all $1,000. You can see the details here. There are multiple drivers within each team, an entry fee, the fixed setup. But RollingThunderRacingSeries.com. Go register there. Registration closes November 1st. So if you want your chance to win $1,000, go sign up now.
Jason Tamer, as we anticipated, has been given an EOL. He'll have to start from the end of the line. However, what's really odd here, it looks like we're going back racing, but the race leader is all the way back here. Ryan Johnson's like the 15th car in line, so a lot of cars on the tail end of the lead lap right now, the way things are working out with the caution procedures here. But we're going back, green flag racing, with a lot of drivers in front of him fighting to stay on the lead lap.
Michael Larch with some wheel spin, but actually is able to get going. This is a very interesting start right here with pretty much these cars one lap down out front leading the way. Ryan Johnson, our leader, is just now coming out of turn 2, way back in the pack.
And not leading. There we go. The number 9 of Jacob Manning making it work on the high side. Carving his way through traffic. A new race leader.
Taking advantage of the restart. And remember, Jacob Manning was just driving through the field earlier, so this yellow flag working out for the driver of the number 9 as he arcs it down into turn number 1. Look at all the speed he's carrying down there on the white line.
Yeah, and look at all the traffic he's got in front of him. And these cars are slower, but they're not going to want to just let him by, because then they'll be tracked a lap down. There's a bit of a difference in tyres going on out here as well. Remember, some cars got the pit under the caution. Some cars have as much as 10 laps on their tyres. Actually, Jacob is one of those. So he's doing all this with some pretty old tyres as well. But man, he is just carving his way through this field.
Up through the middle, it's going to get narrow, but now he's clear up top. Carried that nice run down the straightaway. There's that number 43 that we've mentioned quite a few times. And oh, he just chops the nose of the number 11. That was Scott Crump. I think that was a little bit closer than what he wanted it.
watching out the nose at the time, but no harm, no foul. He was able to avoid them. Now things are starting to calm down a little bit as he goes up to the high side of a number 2, and the 2 car almost washes up into him. But you can see he's bringing traffic with him. He's bringing P2, P3 and all that with him, but they're getting trapped behind a couple of lap cars here, and Manning opens up about a 1 second lead.
Yeah, and really, it's right now as the top 7 is on the lead lap, and there's a few more that are kind of hanging on to it right now. I'm seeing all the way back to probably about Lane Doyle is where it kind of cuts off at. This is Jacob Manning trying to go around Lane Doyle, but if he is able to go around Lane, that firmly puts him 1 lap down, and the more drivers that he can pass right now, I mean, it's just putting him in a hole.
Well, things have calmed down for a race leader, but let's go back to second, because things are not calm there. Ryan Johnson is still in the middle of a hornet's nest in his number 38 machine. He's finally carved his way through a lot of it. You can see he still has a bit of traffic ahead, but P3, P4, P5, they're all trying to make their way through this as well. And speaking of which, Jason Tamer has already worked his way back up to 4th, back up to 3rd.
Well, and I'm really confused, because how did Jason Tamer cause the yellow, get an EOL, but he's up here in now the 3rd position when we had all those cars trapped a lap? It's just very interesting.
Because the leader was also at the back toward the restart. Remember, the 8 lead cars were pretty much at the back on the restart there, so Jason only had to pass 5 cars to get up to 3rd.
Yes, he got very lucky with how many cars were basically on the lead lap at that point. Well, now, worked out for Jason, though.
You can see on timing and scoring, we still have 3 cars on the tail end of a lead lap. So they're hoping for a quick caution here. Still a long way to go. Still opportunities for the drivers who are a lap down to get back up there on the lead lap. And also, when you have a race like this, when you have a race where there's so many cars a lap down, you forget about the win, but if you're a lap down, you've still got to race hard, because you could be as high as 11th or as low as 20th, and that's a big difference.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I think that what the really interesting part is, it's Matthew Molnar, Randall Nichols, Dylan Jones. Those are really the 3 cars that kind of were trapped a lap down. I mean, Colin Weatherholt as well as a few of these others, but they are the ones that are kind of running for their life right now, because Jacob Manning is one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, and if Jacob Manning is able to catch these cars and put them a lap down, it's just great for Jacob Manning, bad for everybody else.
So if you're just joining us, this race got off to a rather chaotic start with a pile-up right at the green flag and led to a lengthy caution where we tried to sort everything out. Jason Tamer dominated the early part of a race, but then the first round of pit stops came out and he caused an incident where he ran into the back of the current leader, or the leader at the time, who was still out there on old tyres. That brought out a yellow. Jason Tamer got an EOL penalty, and then there was another bit of a chaotic restart with a lot of drivers on the tail end of a lead lap restarting ahead of our leaders. Jason Manning has worked his way to the front of the field. Again, this is not improvised rules that this league is coming out with. This is how NASCAR used to run things.
Kind of just the old school series of racing and how the yellows were made as we watch the number 38 of the number 90. This is the battle for second place on the racetrack. The actual battle for second place. It's a little bit kind of tucked away in the dirty air, but hard racing. And something to notice, Daniel Eberhard, he's definitely on the charge. Actually, all of these cars are on the charge from really where they started.
So we had a lot of drivers short pit around lap 30 to lap 35 in the stint, whereas they can make about 40 laps on fuel there, especially as we had so many laps under caution at the start of this race. But those drivers all got caught out a little bit there, Joey. So does that reconfigure how you think about the second round of stops? Do you want to try and go long now in case we get another caution?
100%. I think that you kind of have to do that. Looks like Eberhardt's trying to finally get this pass done. Eberhardt's on the low line down there. But yeah, to your point, I think so. If you keep following the leader, you're going to do exactly what the leader does. So no hope in getting your lap back there. You have to do something different. And in this case, yeah, it's going to be staying out long and hoping for a caution to get on the lead lap.
That's the 81 of Tamer, and P2 there, Johnson. He's running into some connection issues. That's why you see his car disappearing and reappearing. It looks like he knows it's happening because he got out of a racing line, made sure he was away from the other cars, but now he's reappeared and he can race them again. But it certainly is not a very comfortable feeling for anyone involved when somebody does that. But I wonder if that's going to make Ryan Johnson just back down a little bit here, make sure his connection's stable before he begins racing hard. But here we go, P2, P3, nose to tail, the 81 of Jason Tamer, the 90 of Daniel Eberhard, and Ryan Johnson really using that high line as it goes through turns 1 and 2. Oh, not clear there, and Jason Tamer goes around. And is he going to hit the inside wall? Yes, he is. And that's going to be a penalty there for the car on the inside.
Yeah, so this involved Daniel Eberhard, Ryan Johnson, and Jason Tamer. And we'll wait for the GSRC replay, but Sam, I think Tamer cleared himself when he definitely was not clear up to the wall.
Oh, yeah, no, he wasn't clear. I was going to put that on the car behind, but yeah, Ryan Johnson. But yeah, watching it from that angle, I think... I mean, they're arguing about that with race control right now. Race control will be able to go back and watch it. I mean, Ryan Johnson might have been able to catch him a little bit of a break, but Tamer wasn't clear. And the problem is that if that's what race control decides, that Tamer has caused both of these cautions, that's a disqualification.
You're right. The second caution caused is that DQ, and I think that was a good view, is just... they're racing for position. You know, this is hard racing, and there's multiple lanes out here at Las Vegas. And the 38, he's way up top. He's going to be carrying that momentum off of the corner. And simply put, the 81 slides up into that run that's coming off of the turn number 2 outside wall. And I agree with you. I think that Ryan Johnson probably could have lifted, but at the same time, that's his lane. That's where they're racing.
Leaders are in the pits. I don't think all of them are taking tyres, though. Because you can't make it to the end here on one more stop. So you've got to save a set of tyres for later.
Very interesting to see what's happening on the racetrack. I see Randall Nichols stayed out. Matthew Molnar stayed out. A lot of other drivers tried to stay out to try to leapfrog this, to try to get those wave rounds to get back on the lead lap, and I'm curious if it's going to work out for them.
Yeah, well, as we give our minds now back towards how cautions used to work, if you're a lap down and you don't pit under caution, nowadays you get the wave around. You get to cycle back to the tail end of behind the leaders on the lead lap, but you run the deficit of being on older tyres. Back in the day, how these guys are running it, those cars are now on the tail end of a lead lap, and they lead the outside line back to green, but the leader is mired back in the field. Now, we have a lot of lap cars pitting right now. So yeah, that's what's going on here. Trevor Williams will basically be the control car back to green, but he'll be on old tyres, and he'll just have to be hoping for a quick caution. It's weird. It's weird me watching this again, because this threw me off a little bit under the first caution. But this is the way NASCAR used to do things, and we kind of just accepted it back then. And nowadays you're like, man, this was a bit of a chaotic rule.
It's definitely different from what we have now. And I'm curious, because a lot of these cars that were out there that were down one lap, they were in front of the leader, so it doesn't look like they're getting the wave around. I'm just getting a couple little conflicting pieces of info over here, because it does show that we should have wave rounds, but you're right, it's kind of still the old school rule. I wonder why some of these cars didn't opt for that wave around.
Yeah, why some of them pitted and came in for tyres. Again, I kind of understand not pitting for tyres here. Because let's say you can go another 40 laps, that gets you to lap 100, and then you get your set of final tyres for the end. But the thing is, we've already seen 3 cautions today. We're not even halfway yet. I'd want to be saving my final set of tyres for late in the race.
I agree with you, especially with the fall off that we've seen. You definitely want your best rubber for the end of it.
Sorry, Joey. Tamer has been disqualified. So race officials have decided that Jason Tamer came up when he wasn't clear. He's caused both cautions and he has received a black flag.
And I see him a little bit confused in the chat down there. If I was Jason, I would be a little bit confused as well. I don't think that either were malicious, right? I don't think that he meant to take out the leader in the first caution, and I don't think that he purposely slid up in front of the 38 here in the second caution. However, these are the rules that Rolling Thunder has in place. First series of yellows that you cause, end of line. Second series of yellows that you cause, unfortunate disqualification, and that's what happened to Jason Tamer.
All right, lights off on the pace truck and back on again. So again, for those of you new to NASCAR's old rule package, the drivers in the lead on the high line are drivers on the tail end of a lead lap. They're going to go a lap down if there's not a quick caution. The drivers behind them, being led by Jason Manning, who's a 4th driver back in line, he's on new tyres and he's obviously leading the race, and he's got to try and get by these guys as quickly as possible. Everyone on the inside line is a lap or more down.
Very interesting how it's all playing out. I think they're still working out just a few of the kinks, but I think the big picture of this here is the lights are out at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, so the temps are going to continue to come down. I think the only thing that I'm really missing here, Sam, I'm a huge aviation nerd. I love fighter jets, and I know Nellis Air Force Base is literally next door to Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Where's the F-16s with the afterburners, the F-15s with the afterburners flying over? That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I think NASCAR normally does their flyovers during daytime conditions. Nighttime's off for fireworks. We'll probably see fireworks after the race. Although they've got a blimp there, they usually use a blimp for camera work, don't they? Anyway, the caution has been extended here because it looks like there's a couple of drivers who they are giving wave arounds. So we'll let them figure that out.
You know, while they still figure that out on the racetrack, it's a great opportunity to say you want to learn more about the Rolling Thunder series. Tune in to the Burn 'Em Down podcast every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern with Greg Dreiss, available on Twitch, Spotify, SiriusXM. Tune in on Apple as well as YouTube out there. All things Rolling Thunder between the series and the money races. Catch up on all of the Gen 4 action. Go listen along with Greg and interact with them.
Another lap of caution here. So this might be enough for everyone who just pit to make it to the end on fuel if we did go green to the end. That's a big if. You know, we've seen 3 cautions so far. But
well, I think they'll have to make it for sure one more stop, Sam, because they can only make it about 40 laps on fuel.
Did I say they could go to the end? That's what.
Yes.
I meant
more.
one stop as opposed to 2 stops.
Yep.
Now, obviously, there's some drivers out there. There's several drivers out there, including the 3 cars who are on the tail end of a lead lap, who might have just got a wave around actually. Who do not cannot make it to the end on one more stop. They would have to pit twice. But they gave those guys a wave around this time. So they're still on the old tyres, but they'll put them at the back of a train. They won't have to worry about going a lap down immediately.
I think they're just trying to clean it all up out there, and it'll be really interesting on this restart. I see really kind of the top 10 cars. They're all uneven stuff in terms of the tires and how much fuel they have, but starting there at 11th with Trevor Williams in the number 1 car, then the number 34 of Matthew Robinson. They are both on really old stuff compared to everyone around them. A little bit of a mixed bag right in the middle of the field.
All right, so some drivers are coming in to get some tires, but the lights are off on the pace track, and no, they're not. So this will give an opportunity for those drivers who got the wave around actually to come into the pits and get some new tires if they'd like.
Yeah, just a little bit of some extended yellows out here. I also see the 77 kind of creeping up, trying to figure out what position he's trying to be in, and just have to patiently wait. You know, I've been around racing and competitions a long time. It's always the hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, and then wait game. Like, they always want you ready, and then they're like, okay, we're not ready yet.
Yeah, well, see, I took a benefit of a doubt for the first caution being 10 laps under the premise that it was a multi-car wreck, and the caution in real life at that point probably would have taken 10 laps. This one was for a spin, so yeah, we're just getting it figured out here. Let's see, here we go. Lights off on the pace track. Let's see if we can do it this time. When we do go back green flag racing, it'll be Jacob Manning leading them to the green in the number 9 car ahead of John Ellis Jr., who started 14th. As a matter of fact, our top 2 in the running order now started 10th and 14th, so they're up a lot of positions. Ryan Johnson running 3rd. He was the driver who was involved along with Tamer to bring out our recent caution. Jared Mogard running in 4th place ahead of Dylan Jones. Nice comeback here for Dylan Jones. Let's not forget he was the driver pointing backwards in the wall when the green flag flew. And another lap of yellow.
I'm actually curious here. Where is Jason Maines? Remember, Jason Maines was our round number 1 Daytona winner. I think I got to look all the way back to 15th place. He's one of the cars still kind of catching up to the pack right here. So even though he won Daytona, Sam, I don't think this is the race he was hoping for at Las Vegas.
No, but he's gotten lucky here, actually. He's just been able to pit. Remember, I think he was one of the drivers who was kind of on the tail end of the lead lap, and we thought would be leading them back to green on that high side, but he got waved around, so he just came into the pits for fuel, maybe new tires. Again, I wasn't watching his pit stop. It's coming in again. Might have gotten a little bit of damage at some point during the races, getting repaired. That's one nice thing about iRacing. For anyone who hasn't played iRacing before, if you do get your car damaged, when you come into the pits, it'll tell you how much... you know what that might have been, actually? He might have been topping off fuel there, under the premise that if you can get about 35, 40 laps on fuel... I think anyone who's pit at any time on this caution can make it to the end on one more stop, but certainly it doesn't hurt to come in for a little bit of fuel on the final lap of caution here, because we've made it halfway down the back straight this time and the pace lights are off. Let's see if we can keep them off for another 0.75 miles.
I think it's actually a really good point to, yeah, go top that thing off with... I don't know, but I mean, it seems like we're doing a dozen yellow flag laps every single time out here. Fill that thing up.
All right, so we do have 2 lap down cars restarting on the inside there. Again, old Gen 4 style rules here. Jacob Manning with his Oculus on. In the virtual reality world, about to lead them back to green. A nice restart there on the high side. Lap cars dropping back far on the inside, and so the race is on for the leaders. They head off back down into turn 1, and it's about 4th or 5th. They're starting to get double file.
Yeah, it's still those two lapped cars, the 18 and the 39. They're just a little bit slower on that lower lane, but thankfully a nice clean restart here at Las Vegas. Side by side now with the 29. That's Matthew Molnar looking underneath Jared Mogard going through 3 and 4. Looks like he will grab that spot.
John Ellis Jr. in second position, right on the tail of Jacob Manning in that old Kevin Harvick throwback on the side of his 21 car, I believe it is. Even though Harvick ran the 29 up in the wall. It's a good looking car. It might look a little bit worse now if it's got some scrapes down that right side.
And be careful, but we did see quite a few cars get on that wall on the outside and not have too much of a performance disadvantage. So, Sam, I really feel like you can go get familiar with the wall. You can go out, you can touch it, maybe love it a little bit, but as soon as you hit it too hard, it's going to bite back.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on the way you worded that comment, but okay. Here we are. We're over halfway through this race. A battle for second now. Ryan Johnson is moving his way up into second. We're watching the battle in the middle of the pack here, but here we go back up front. Second and third have traded places, and Ryan Johnson might be thinking about the race lead.
Look at this. This is just a gaggle of about 5 cars all battling for the lead as Johnson dives it down underneath Manning. He is easily going to clear Jacob coming up off of turn number 2. And to the point, the number 38, Ryan Johnson.
And now here goes the 29 of Molnar underneath. So that's why that Kevin Harvick throwback paint can't have a 29. It's already taken by Molnar as he moves up into second position. And boy, Manning is going the wrong way right now.
Look at this, 3 wide for what is the 7th place right on board with Lane Doyle as he tries to slingshot up around the top side. Usually when you ride that high line, you have the tremendous top speed down the straightaway. That is 69 of Randall Nichols in the white and blue car. Let's see what kind of run he can get coming up out of turn 4. I think he's actually going to be boxed in by Daniel Eberhardt. Going to have to follow Randall Nichols now through the low line on the trioval.
A nice little pack of 3 cars going down into turn 1 here. And they've got a pack of 3 behind them as well. We ride on board the number 2 of Michael Larch trying to find his way through this hornet's nest in front of him.
Mentioned Dylan Jones a little bit earlier. He had that little bit of wiggle kind of falling back in the number 3 car. And the other car that I noticed is on the move right now, our pole sitter, Colin Weatherholt. He was trapped a lap down earlier. We restarted back outside of the top 10. Now he's moved his way back into the 8th place as the 15 of Jared Mogard. It's all over the back of Molnar.
The close quarters racing. Now, some of these drivers have 10 laps on the tyres already, but pretty much all of those are caution laps. So all of these drivers racing with 4 Mr. How do they word them? 4 Mr. Feelgoods, those new Goodyear tyres. And that's why you're seeing a lot of aggressive driving out here right now as they'll come to 63 laps left to go this time around. Everyone's still got 1 stop to make, racing for track position with a lot of cars. 18 cars still on the lead lap.
I'm really curious. The number 9 car is dropping like a rock right now. That's Jacob Manning. Remember, we've been riding on board with Jacob has just been tearing up through the field. You were mentioning that pit stop strategy about how you probably only have to do 1 more stop. I wonder if Jacob Manning thinks that he has to do some fuel save because he's running to a number out there and it's way off pace. Either that or he's got damage on the car somewhere that I can't see.
No, I think when we watched his last pit stop, he didn't take tyres. So maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe he's taking the pain now of running out there on older tyres, but then actually you think he'd be going a lot slower than what he is.
And that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. That's a great catch. I did not see that. And he could have been one of those cars that took one of the early sets of tires, and that might have been why he had the speed.
Yeah, even our race leader right now, granted he's about halfway through a stint on tyres, is running mid-30s, and our fastest laps of the race were in the high 29s. So times definitely drop off as they put more laps under here. So obviously we've been talking about this 35 to 40 lap fuel window. That would make logical sense that once we get to about lap 100 is when we're probably going to see our final round of green flag pit stops kick off. I would imagine if we got a caution after that, though, we'd definitely see some drivers coming for tyres after that.
Looking out the back window of Drew Ballesteros, and Drew had a top 5 finish at Daytona, hanging out inside the top 10 right now, or I should say just hanging on to the 10th place position. Daniel Eberhardt in the number 90 is the one applying the pressure, but past halfway here at Las Vegas, I would say that despite how many yellow flags we've had so far, things are starting to take shape on where the cars are running in terms of their pace.
Yeah, I think we've still got a couple more curveballs, though. The number 2 and the number 20 running very close here. We can't see the number 2 right now. He's a little bit... There he is. Number 2 coming into the sight, and we've got the 34 of Matthew Robinson running at the back there. They're all running right on top of each other through turns 1 and 2, through turns 3 and 4. But these nice cooler conditions and these nighttime conditions are allowing these drivers to get away with that.
Well, we've got it focused on that number 20. Colin Weatherholt is new to the series. I know Colin pretty well. What's pretty cool about Mr. Weatherholt here that some people don't know is that he's actually involved in real-world motorsports as well. He doesn't just come out here and play on the sim. He is a tremendous competitor when you put the steering wheel in his hands, but he actually works for Ed Carpenter Racing over there in the IndyCar paddock. He paints the race cars for Ed Carpenter Racing. A lot of these modern teams, they use vinyl to really create the schemes and place the sponsors on the car, while Ed Carpenter Racing, they still paint the cars, and Colin Weatherholt, well, he is the one that does the painting.
I gotta admit that was something I did not know, and in a natural human fashion, I'm gonna try and one-up your fact. It's not with someone I know, but did you know that the Gravedigger Monster Jam truck is hand-painted?
You know, I wouldn't be surprised. I think a lot of those Monster Jam stuff, it's more about the artistic fashion than the performance per se. They really are entertainers, so that's pretty cool to learn.
Ryan Johnson is not having a very good connection. We saw this earlier with him, didn't we? We saw his connection blinking in and out, and that's going to be very distracting for the likes of Jared Mogard. Now, we saw Ryan Johnson really build up a lead at the start of this run, and now I think cars behind have come to him. He might have burned off the tyres on the number 38.
All going to come down to what, or I should say, who has the best stuff when the checkered flag comes out. And you're right, who burns it up early, who ends up saving it. And to talk about the blinking issue from our leader, that you see it, he just kind of disappears on the racetrack. You can kind of imagine if you're following somebody and then he disappears on you, just how distracting that is. And not only that, but here in iRacing, Sam, when he blinks, he's not providing you that draft anymore.
Yeah, and in league and hosted races such as this, sometimes they can tell drivers to pull out of a race if this doesn't improve. I was competing in the Lionheart series earlier this season. I had a race where I had a connection issue like this, and I kind of got a warning. Fortunately for me, it cleared up. Hopefully the same thing happens for the 38 car here, because he's definitely putting it on the way of performance. And right now, I mean, this isn't bad blinking. This isn't excessive. It's when it gets really bad that we run into issues. Now, Daniel Eberhardt saying he's pitting in. This is too early to make it to the end.
You're right, unless he's trying to split, unless he has 2 sets of tires and he's just trying to split it evenly. I can kind of see 25 laps-ish a piece on these stints, but you're right. I'm a little scratching my head on this one.
This battle for second continues down the back straight. Again, we anticipate pit window for the last pit stop probably opening in about 12 laps or so. And here at half a minute a lap, if that stays green, They'll click off quite quickly. Now, of course, if we get a caution before then things will get very interesting with drivers maybe have to stretch fuel, and some drivers may be opting not to pit and save a set of tyres for the long run, but that's only if we get a caution in the next 12 laps.
I'm going to draw back on our data here, Sam, because the first green flag run, remember, they came in about 37, 38, 39 on the lap count, but they also had a lot of yellow flag laps. And here comes the number 2 of Michael Larch down pit road. And I'm seeing Michael only has about 29 laps on his fuel tank. So I wonder just maybe these cars aren't quite getting the fuel mileage that we were expecting.
Yeah, to your point, if none of them can make it, if none of them can actually make it to the end on one more stop and everyone has to pit 2 times, they're getting it done early here. But again, when do you take tyres? A lot of these drivers might just be down to 1 set of tyres left. Do you take them now, or do you take them on your final stop? Do you, in official series racing, official series races are always a lot shorter, so you don't have to worry about, or at least in a lot of the series they're a lot shorter, you don't have to worry about tyre wear as much. But I always like keeping a set of my tyres for the very end of a race, Joey, just in case there's a caution with 10 laps to go.
I'm seeing here, I'm curious if Ryan Johnson is going to prove me wrong. I think that these cars just aren't making the fuel mileage. I don't think that the tire fall off qualifies coming down pit road to get the new set of tires. I really feel like these cars are kind of only making it about 30 laps, maybe 35 laps at most on a fuel stint, but Ryan Johnson is just clicking off over to start lap number 32 of his fuel stint, and he is our leader.
Yeah, again, though, some of these, the numbers, the data that we're getting throughout this race may be a bit exaggerated, seeing these drivers go 35, 40 laps because of how many laps of caution we've had when the cautions have flown. So in that case, yeah, if these drivers might be able to get 35 laps on the stint now, but they still have 40 laps left to go when they come into a pit, if that's all green, they're not going to make it to the end.
Exactly. That's the strategy call, is when do you come down? When do you get the tires? When can you make it to the end? It's all of these moving parts, these moving variables. And as a sim racer, you don't have an actual crew chief on the wall. Now, they do have, third-party apps to help with those fuel calculations and how much fuel to actually put in the car. But in terms of physically making the strategy call, deciding when to come in, it's still up to each driver.
So we've had a bit of confusion today over which drivers have had fresh tyres or not. It's quite obvious here. Daniel Eberhard definitely has new tyres on that number 19 machine.
There's been a series of cars that have come down pit lane, and I actually see, I think it's Michael Larch that leads that group of cars that have come down pit lane that is on the fresh tires. Then you got Colin Weatherholt and Daniel Eberhard. These 3 cars are all on the same strategy, and they're actually kind of all running along lines in the same group of the racetrack. Curious to see how this strategy plays out compared to the cars that are stretching it all the way on their tank.
Number 21 was trying to get into pits and slid up the track there, was right in the middle of a racing line, and that's the kind of stuff you have to watch out for in this style of racing. Trying to come into the pits on worn tyres, sometimes your car might slide up a racetrack, and you got to hope that the driver behind you can avoid you. Oh, 34 really threw it in there, didn't he? Made it work, though.
Yeah, our leader is down on pit road right now, Ryan Johnson. So I'm looking 34 laps on this fuel stint, plus however many of the yellow flag laps we had earlier. So yeah, I don't see these drivers making it to that magic 40 number that we were hoping that they could get to. And everybody, they're going to have to stop again.
So there's still a lot of cars out here on the racetrack who have yet to come in, being led by Matthew Molnar. But again, like you say, we'd have to see him go for another 8 laps if he were to make it to the end or something like that, and that's not happening. But
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, the question again becomes which drivers save their final set of tyres for that last stop.
We watch Molnar finally come down pit road. He's going to be the one clicking it down to 41 laps to go as he crosses start-finish line, and he has done 36 laps on his stint. So even if he is able to replicate this right now, he still won't be able to make it to the end.
Yeah, once all these stops are done in about 2 or 3 laps, I really want to take a look at the lap times of the cars out there on the track, because it looks like the drivers who are taking tyres should be able to run low 30s, but there's some drivers out there running mid 30s or 31s, and I'm going to assume those are the ones who are out there on the older tyres. Scott Crump obviously on older tyres right now because he hasn't pitted in 30 laps. And remember, Scott Crump, I'm assuming, is one of those drivers such as Jason Maines that we saw topping off under the last caution. So maybe they are thinking about trying to do it on one stop.
I think that you're right. I think if there's 2 cars that could potentially make it on one stop from here, it is the 11 and the number 12. They can make it... from the previous car, about 5 more laps, and you hear Jason Maines actually using the clutch. However, if they keep up at this pace, I don't know if they're actually going to be able to hold the pace and keep the lead.
Yeah, but maybe that's not their goal. Maybe they just want to try and finish higher than what they would have done had they not done this strategy. We'll have to wait and see, but to your point, Scott Crump is running mid-32s out there. Jason Maines is running high 31s, so they're about a second or more a lap slower than what they would be capable of doing under a regular strategy. Here's Ryan Johnson. He's dropped down to 5th. Yeah, he's running low 30s right now, so he's definitely out there on newer tyres.
This is the difference just a handful of laps makes. Colin Weatherholt right here has 10 laps on his tires. Ryan Johnson only 5 laps on his tires. So much fresher, and that just provides you the extra grip. And extra grip helps you everywhere. On the entry, through the rolling middle part of the corner, and even putting the power down coming out of the exit.
Well, wish I knew to tell you which drivers out there still have a set of tyres they're sitting on. If it stays green, I could understand maybe doing... as Drew Ballister also goes right in the middle of a 3 wide there. Nice move by him. He's up into 12th position now. And there we go. Crump and Maines are in... they only had 35 laps. They got 37 to go. I'm not sure it's doable.
I think it's going to be right on the edge, and from what I saw, their lap times, if they replicate that stint, I don't think they'll have to quite do the clutch in and coast at the end of this one like they just had to. It'll advance their track position, but I'm not sure how far forward.
You mentioned Larch has 7 lap older tyres than Johnson here. He's running about half a second a lap slower than him, so it could be very possible, like you say, that they both took tyres on the last stop, but Larch is just that much slower because he has those 7 extra laps here on them.
Absolutely, and honestly, if you're Ryan Johnson, you can take it easy. You don't have to really push very hard right now. You just see it. The pass is naturally just going to come to you. The number 2 of Michael Larch slipped up coming up out of turn number 2, and just these newer tires, you don't have to be aggressive. All you got to do is turn laps, and you're going to be faster than everybody else.
Well, depending, even if the rest of this race goes a bit chaotic, I think Ryan Johnson has definitely established himself as one of the contenders to run up front for the rest of this championship. Didn't get a top 10 finish at the opening race at Daytona, so this will be a nice little handful of points for him. As a matter of fact, I want to look at timing and scoring here, see when we get our first driver who actually placed in the top 10 at Daytona, and it was Jared Mogard. He finished in 8th place at Daytona, and right now running out there in 4th.
It's a very long championship here in the Rolling Thunder Racing Series, 20 races long. So it's important to get off on a good foot, but it ain't the end of the world if you have a bad race early on. However, it's all about that $1,000 given away to the championship winner at the end of those 20 races.
So Ryan Johnson continuing to pull away from Larch at half a second a lap. I am halfway wondering if Larch didn't take tyres on the last stop, because that just seems a bit excessive, but I could be wrong.
I think it's the difference. 7 laps ago, I guarantee you Michael Larch was running 30.6s, 30.7s. We'll just have to make a mental note here. Looks like Michael Larch's last lap time was a 31.2, Colin Weatherholt a 31.0. So if he's right in there in the 31-second range, low 31s, it makes sense. We'll have to see what Ryan Johnson's time is here when he gets to that lap 18, lap 20 mark.
Yes, Ryan Johnson pulling away from the rest of the field. Next driver on newer tyres than Ryan Johnson is Matthew Molnar, who's now in 4th place. He, actually, here he goes. He might be about to move up to 2nd in one go.
Yeah, he might get a 2-for-1, but Colin Weatherholt is on the inside of Michael Larch. These are the two cars that are pretty even on tires, and then you got Molnar. You were mentioning just on much fresher stuff. He's going to make it 3 wide coming up out of turn number 2, and it's actually going to be Matthew Robinson that's going to follow him through as well.
Yeah, well, he needs to do that, because if there's one driver out there, like I say, I'm starting to believe you're correct. I'm starting to think a tyre fall-off just is that bad, and everyone is out there on newer tyres. Molnar has a couple laps newer tyres than Johnson, and I think he can run a couple of tenths faster a lap, so he really needed to get through that traffic and try and run down our race leader during this stint.
And Molnar, to your point, is on the freshest tires of them all. He is 2.5 seconds back. I think the problem that the driver of the 29 is going to face is that he's only on 2 lap fresher tires than the leader. While it is better, it's only marginally better. It's not the handful of laps or 7+ laps that we really saw the difference of when those cars were just able to get up there and drive right around another person.
But again, all these drivers have one more stop. So how can that play into everyone's strategy? Dylan Jones had an ugly start to the race, going by Ellis Jr. here for 10th place. I always give credit to the guys at Richard Childress Racing in Goodwrench after, the tragic incident of Dale Earnhardt. They came out with that paint scheme in just a month or so, and it really has withstood the test of time.
Well, it also helps, just the success from the team, the success from the drivers that were in the car. And you're right, it's a classic scheme. And, I'm going to draw back on my racing nerddom knowledge again. And actually, hang on, Colin Weatherholt coming down pit road right now. Remember how I was mentioning that these cars are going to split that final 53 laps down the middle? Here we go.
Yeah, and Larch has as well. And Larch took tyres. So I'm guessing a lot of these teams maybe under the first stop or the second stop didn't take tyres, and everyone, I would like to hope for everyone's sake that they've all saved a set for the end here.
Out to see exactly how it plays out. I'm watching Colin Weatherholt in the pit box. He went up on the right side, and now he goes up on the left side, so he is taking tires. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're new tires, but he did swap out for some freshies.
I want to argue with you about that. Do they have scuff tires here on iRacing then?
Yes. Now, I don't know exactly how the programming works, but if you come down, you can do a tire swap. It's not going to put fresh tires on. I would expect that it probably picks your best remaining sets.
Lane Doyle did not have tires. He did not go up on the track. So there are some drivers that are out of tires.
Very interesting. See, I'm over here, I really need to read up more on iRacing. It's going to get me in trouble one of these days, especially if one of these people is out there watching and listening right now.
Matthew Robinson is taking tyres. Drew Ballesteros, he's taking tyres.
Interesting to see. So these drivers at the end here, they saved a set for a sprint, essentially a 25-lap sprint. Just put the minimum amount of fuel in the car and go out and set the track on fire.
John Ellis Jr. coming into the pits.
And remember, there was a couple of those cars that are going to stretch it on fuel, Sam. I believe, what was it, Crump as well as Maines were the ones that were really trying to maximize their fuel mileage.
Yeah, I don't know how that strategy will work out for them. I do know that I'm seeing a lot of cars take tyres. I think the only one who hasn't so far is Doyle. And so that's going to make end of a race very tough for him.
I'm going through timing and scoring here. Randall Nichols, I think, surprisingly, is in a really, really good spot. We hadn't been paying too much attention to this white and blue number 69 car here, Sam. He's been up at the front, especially at the beginning of the race, but I'm noticing out of all of the cars that have made their pit stop, this number 69 is leading that group.
Yes. And he came in 7 laps ago and is being passed. So it could very well be that he wasn't able to take tyres as well. Because, yeah, he's down in the 31s. Now, I've got to wonder here then, and we can see there's still a gap of 1.5 seconds between Johnson and Molnar. This makes me think the leaders do not have tyres, and the reason why I think that is if you do have a set left, you want to come in and get them now. There's no point in coming in for a final set of new tyres with only 10 laps to go. You won't be able to do anything with them.
I think the only point to that is if we have a yellow flag and the field gets bunched up, then you can take advantage of them. But you're right. 10 laps to go. It's not enough time to maximize those tires out there.
I think Joshua Suss is about to go a lap down here. Yes, he is. But kudos to him. He started dead last. And here he is. We haven't really mentioned him all day, but he's still holding on to the tail end of a lead lap. And actually, he's in a nice... Oh, boy, almost gave him a shout-out right at the wrong time, didn't we? Oh, and now he's in the wall, actually, down the back straight. He gets away with it, but that does put him a lap down.
Sam, you know what that's called? That's the good old-fashioned commentator's curse right there.
No, I don't think so, because he's still running.
Touche, I'll give you that one. Well, out of all the strategies, my brain is kind of running 1,000,000 miles an hour right now. Ryan Johnson's leading, okay? He's got 26 laps on his stint right now. If he comes down here and pits soon, he's going to have a rocket ship if he has rubber left to put on the car. But the other one that I'm noticing in terms of their strategy on the racetrack, Michael Larch and Colin Weatherholt, the number 2 and the number 20. I feel like these are the other 2 cars that have the potential of having the race-winning pace.
I'll go one up from that. As they actually almost take each other out. That would have been the commentator's curse. I'll go one up from that, actually. No, I won't. Did you say Eberhardt?
Well, Eberhardt is kind of on that same strategy, but I have a feeling he's going to get eaten up right here from the 2 and the 20.
Well, so here we are. So here are 3 drivers who have came in and put new tyres on. Now, here we can see Mogard coming into the pits. These 3, I think, could be in the great position. And I think Eberhardt is part of that. And commentator's curse because Lars goes right by him.
The only
wide. This could be for the win, to be honest.
And it looks like Colin Weatherhold's trying to poke his nose up through the middle. Eberhardt's got the oldest tires. He's on the outside lane as Michael Larch keeps it narrow down on the white line. Where can the 20 of Colin Weatherholt go? Because Eberhardt is really trying to side draft, boxing him in.
And these three, I don't know if they know they could be fighting for the win. I'm sure they know they're in a good position. But the thing is they're all on new tyres. And all of the cars in front of them coming into the pits, I don't know if they have tyres. Let's see. Molnar is in now. He is not taking tyres. Matthew Molnar came in from second. He's not taking tyres. Let's see where he comes out in relation to these three, because he was only a second back of Ryan Johnson. These three on the newer tyres are flying down the front straight. That's Molnar. You see there on the apron in one. He's not going to get up to speed in time. These tyres are working for these three. Molnar is still out there on old tyres. This strategy of saving these tyres for the end is working out for the 2, the 20 and the 90. Although, to be fair, you were right, Joey, the 90 is fading back.
And it'll be curious to see if Molnar is just a rocket ship out there, see if he can just drive up and catch Larch and Weatherholt. I really like this strategy from the 2 and the 20, though. They essentially just split that final 50 laps down the middle, trying to maximize their fuel run. And here comes Matthew Robinson. He is probably the best on the tires. He's got a handful fresher tires than both Weatherholt and Larch. He's starting to hunt them down.
He is. He has about 2 or 3 laps fresher tyres than the cars in front of him. Now, you might be saying, like we're saying, where's Matthew Robinson been all day? Well, the reason the drivers who haven't been anywhere all day are here at the end was because they've been running out there on old tyres, and now here they are at the end. They've saved a set of new tyres for the end of this race, and that seems to be the right call. The worst thing Larch and Weatherholt can do for each other is take each other out. They're catching Scott Crump here, who still has to pit, but let's not forget he's trying to do that fuel saving thing, which I don't think is going to work. It's probably going to go 3 wide here. Let's see.
Yeah, the number 11 is definitely the slowest out of the bunch. Weatherholt's going to push the issue all the way down low. That really forces Michael Larch to run the high line around 1 and 2. It actually might pay off for the number 2 car as he carries the top speed. That's going to defend that lead position once everything cycles out.
That was not a great call by Matthew Robinson there. He had 3 different lanes he could have gone in, and he went and followed the one that the lap car was in and held himself up. And into the pits comes the final car that had been yet to pit. That was Dylan Jones. So now all of a sudden, this 3-way battle. Actually, let's get a broadcast camera on this. It's a 5-way battle. Look at the distance between Eberhardt and Crump. They're not too far behind as well. But these 3 have the newest tyres of them. And is that a lap car there? I think that's a 39.
Yes, that's Luke Smith kind of coming up, and I think he's on some fresh stuff. You got to be careful as a lap car here. I know you're trying to get your stuff back, but unfortunately you're multiple laps down with only 10 laps to go. You really got to let these leaders race it out. And look at Matthew Robinson taking advantage of the tires. I think it's all going to be Weatherholt versus Robinson. 9 laps to go. Who's going to hang on?
Yes, having these newer tyres at the end of a race is making a massive difference. So, like you say, Smith has got to be respectful, but at the same time, he wants to get back up there on the lead lap and maybe pass some cars on the really old tyres. We have drivers out there right now running 32-second lap times, whereas the leaders are running 31. So this number 39 car can certainly pick off a position or 2 if he can get by them. Here comes Robinson to the high side, 3 wide, lap car on the low side. The 2 leaders battling up high. Robinson with the fresher tyres, with the faster car, with 8 laps left to go. Can he make it work up high?
I really feel like this top lane has been the faster lane. That's where the majority of the passes have been made. And Matthew Robinson, the fresher tires are paying off. 7 laps to go. He's got the fastest car, and he's in clean air.
And I'm not sure anyone behind him can do anything about it. He might even just let the Smith car go by here. And by the way, we've been talking about Smith getting back on the lead lap. He's actually multiple laps down. He was 2 laps down. Now he's only 1 lap down. So an unfortunate day there for the 39. But I think Robinson's got this. And now we'll have to wait and see if there's any more drivers with surprises. Have anyone been saving anything? Jared Mogard is running very fast. He's running hard. Yeah, Mogard. Mogard's the next driver we need to keep an eye on. He's only 2 seconds back of a race leader. and he is running half a second a lap quicker than anyone else.
I've been keeping my eye on the number 15, and it's just going to be a matter of if he can pass Eberhardt, if he can pass Larch cleanly, because we're down to 5 laps remaining here at Las Vegas, and I just think that, yes, Jared's definitely got the fastest car of the bunch. Is there enough time?
I think he could. I mean, it's really going to depend on how much difficulty is he going to have. There he goes, right by one of them. Mogard is up to 4th place, and now there's just 1.3 seconds and 3 cars separating him from the victory.
Yeah, and he's going to get to the outside of Michael Larch here. See if he can clear him in 1 and 2. 4 laps to go. How quickly can Jared Mogard charge up through this field? Can he steal the checkered flag?
Well, he just made up 1 second in 2 laps, and he's got 4 laps left to go to make up that final second.
It'll be impressive if he's able to pull this off, because I don't think that Colin Weatherholt's going to fight him at all, but is Matthew Robinson going to challenge him? Because if not, you're right, Jared's just going to drive around him.
Weatherholt takes the inside, Mogard's going to follow him through the turn, but he has such... Again, these drivers are much better than me. That's not how I would have done it, though. I think I would have tried a different line than what the car in front of me was doing, but there we go. He's got time to play. I was watching a chess video once. They said once you're winning by a couple pieces, it doesn't really matter what you do. You can do what you want and you're still going to win anyway. I think that's the mentality Mogard might have now. It doesn't matter if a car in front of him goes high or low. He's got such an advantage on tyres here. So for Robinson, it was good while it lasted, but it's not going to last much longer. 2 laps left to go, but that might not be enough.
Jared Mogard impressed me a ton right here. I didn't think that he was going to be able to clean up at the end of the race, but wow, these tires, they came alive, and now the white flag is out. It's his to lose.
Barney puts the white flag in the air, and Jared Mogard, who we weren't even paying attention to 5 laps ago. We were watching the top 4 duke it out for the win on their fresher tyres. Well, Jared Mogard had even fresher tyres, and he just charged by those top 5 cars here in the last dying moments of this race here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And Jared Mogard is going to come to the checkered flag and win here in Las Vegas.
Tremendous strategy from the number 15 car. Literally stealing away the win as the rest of the drivers just struggled on their tires. And unfortunate, I'm seeing the number 11 of Scott Crump had a top 10 going. He was trying to stretch it on fuel. He's ran out of fuel on the front straightaway.
Yeah, there were a few different strategies in play at the end there. Some of them worked, some of them did not. This was the driver with the best strategy. And kudos to him. I think Mogard was in contention up there for most of the race. Certainly surprised us in the dying moments there by grabbing the victory. But we were definitely expecting a strong finish out of him no matter what happened. And I'm sure he will take this W and celebrate it, already doing the 2nd victory lap here around the Speedway. He definitely had enough fuel. Well, we'll have a chance to talk to a couple of our finishers here in just a few moments here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to try and get a couple burnouts in before we do that. Is he going to go for a 3rd victory lap? No, he's going to finally burn it down here on the front straight. Light up the rear tyres on this Gen 4. Jared Mogard, your winner here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
Silverback Tax Solutions specializes in dealing with IRS tax problems. If you are receiving threatening letters from the IRS, or if the IRS has placed liens or levies on your property, Silverback Tax Solutions can help you find relief. We have worked with hundreds of people to resolve their tax problems. If you're behind on filing your taxes, it's never too late to get on the right track. Silverback Tax Solutions can help with that also. Don't let another night go by where you lose sleep worrying about the IRS or your taxes. Head over to www.silverbacktacks.com or call 662-996-4357 and contact an enrolled agent today. We can help you gain peace of mind and deal with those problems for you.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the story of the race was strategy. So if you want strategy, next time you're at the roulette table, bet on number 15, because that's what happened here today with Jared Mogard coming home 7/10 of a second over Matthew Robinson in number 34, Colin Weatherholt in third, and Daniel Eberhardt in fourth, and Michael Larch rounding out your top five. Ryan Johnson had control of the field for the second half of the race, but didn't have a set of tyres ready for that final stint. So he dropped back to sixth ahead of Drew Ballestros and Matthew Molnar, who also had a similar good race going for most of the race, but not there at the end. Randall Nichols and Jacob Manning round out the top 10.
Lane Doyle in the number 32 is going to finish in the 11th position. Dylan Jones in 12th. John Ellis Jr. in 13th, and we have Brenton Barker, in 14th. Trevor Williams in the number 1 car with a top 15 finish. Unfortunately, Scott Crump, he had a top 10 going, but ran out of fuel on the last lap. Falls all the way down to 16th. Jason Maines, your Daytona winner, finishing down in 17th, and the last car actually on the lead lap. Joshua Suss in 18th. Sean Corcoran in 19th. Luke Smith with a top 20, still 1 lap down. And then just a few more here. Jared Haynes finished 2 laps down, but did take the checkered flag. Dean Gagliano also finished the race, albeit 6 laps down. Then the 2 DNFs, Darwin Hansen, and then unfortunately the disqualification for Jason Tamer.
Yes, those are the drivers who may want to forget today. Let's talk to the drivers who will want to remember today, starting with our race winner, Jared Mogard. Jared, I must confess, I didn't really see you coming until the last 5 laps there. When did you realise, hey, I've got the car, I've got the tyres that can pull this off?
I didn't really know. I didn't know where everybody else was with, how many sets they had used and if they had a set left or not. We did, so I was going to take 2 and decided last second to take 4 and just see what happened. I was a little worried there for a while, and then I got to about 7th and seen I was only 4 seconds behind. And I'm like, well, if I get up on the wheel here and hustle it, we'd have a shot. And we did. It all worked out.
2 top 10 finishes to open the season. You must be feeling pretty confident here.
Yeah, for sure. Last week, Daytona, it's kind of a crapshoot, and, where you're going to finish and how you're going to run with these guys because of the pack racing. So I was looking forward to this race, just to kind of see where we are on speed-wise. I know there's some guys that are faster that had some problems tonight, but otherwise, overall, I feel pretty confident. The way where the fuel is and the tire strategy and all that. I think it's going to be fun. So hopefully this is a good sign to kick off the year here, the first 2 weeks, and hopefully we can keep it rolling.
It threw me off a little bit, remembering that these Gen 4 cars use the old restart rules with the wave arounds and the lead lap cars on the high side and then the lap down cars on the inside. It did mean we had a couple of extended cautions there. What was it like being a driver through all of that?
Yeah, I mean, you have that there. It's one of them things, but all the guys over there, all the officials, they'll get that worked out to where we don't have to deal with that. But, it is what it is. The way I look at it is it was the same for everybody. For me, it did change my strategy a little bit and kind of maybe played into my hand a little bit as yellows went. But, like I said, you'll have that from time to time. There's nothing we can do about it. It was the same for everybody, and all the officials up in the tower did the best they could to make it right. I think they did all right.
Looking, you got a couple of sponsors and messages on your card. Did you want to talk about any of them, or who helped you get this done today?
Yeah, definitely. I just want to thank TDS Internet, iPower Computers, Asus Monitors, Twitch Race Reports. You guys have been doing the broadcast. Hopefully all the fans enjoyed it. And then Justin and all the officials and everybody involved that makes this deal go. Thank you guys. And hopefully we'll keep this rolling and see everybody next weekend.
Yep, we'll see you next weekend at Watkins Glen. Best of luck there and congrats again on the win.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
So that was your race winner, Trevor Demogard. And Joey, you have caught up with our second place finisher, Matthew Robinson.
Matthew Robinson, first of all, congratulations on the second place finish tonight.
Thank you, man.
Now, it seemed like you almost had this win in the bag. Were you expecting fresh tires to just rocket around you with a couple laps to go?
Well, honestly, when I was passing Colin there, I didn't know we were racing for the lead. I had to ask all the guys I was in my room in my lobby with, and they're like, "Yeah, that's for the lead." I'm like, "Oh crap," and I seen a couple of people pull from a pit road. I didn't know how far they'd be back, and then they said Jared was coming, so I knew it was only a matter of time. I tried to do my best, but he got up underneath me coming out of the corner, so it was nothing I could do. I wasn't going to rough him up or nothing, but if I could, I would have tried to block his line but it was close, man. I was hoping I could hold him off.
I know this championship is quite long with 20 races. However, you finished ninth at Daytona, a tremendous second place here. It seems like you're just chasing Jared right now. He finished right in front of you at Daytona and right in front of you here at Vegas. What's it going to take to go up there and beat him?
Yeah, I didn't realize I finished behind him in Daytona, but yeah, it must be something going on. I don't know. Maybe I can get in front of him one more time or the next couple of races here, and we'll see how everything plays out at the end.
As we get to know everybody in this series, is there maybe a style of track or maybe one or two tracks that stands out for you on this schedule that you're looking forward to going to?
Yeah, I really like Iowa and Homestead. They're probably one of my ones I got circled. This track's pretty good too. I like anything like this where you got to let off and drive it. It's pretty fun. I really like Iowa and Homestead though. Those are two of my top ones I want to do good at.
Traditionally, low grip racetracks and these Gen 4s, like you said, you actually have to drive them. Congrats on the second place. Anybody you want to give a shout out to while we've got you here?
Yeah, I like to think I got a couple buddies. We're sort of teaming up. We're going to call it Upshift Racing. Just a couple buddies. We're just having fun and enjoying our time together. And so I'd like to thank all of them. Michael Larch, Drew Ballesteros, and Dean Gagliano. All of them just good fun talking to and trying to figure out pitch strategy and everything. So I'd like to thank all of them. I'd like to thank Justin Rideout for hosting the league and all the admins and the broadcast. I'd like to thank y'all. Everyone's got a part in it, even the drivers. I know we had a little rough one tonight, but it'll shake all on out throughout the rest of the season.
Well, that was Matthew Robinson finishing second tonight in Las Vegas and already starting to put his foot down on a good championship effort.
Colin Weatherholt is our third podium finisher, if you will. He was also the pole sitter for today's race. Colin, how are you feeling after 140 laps here at Vegas?
Well, my armpits are sweaty. My arms are a little tired, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
How big was that, getting that pole position?
It really surprised me that I was able to, get a little pole position there. And what surprised me more is that we were able to tie on time. So I was really happy. And to see third place just 1,000th behind us it's really competitive. It was a lot of fun.
So this whole strategy, unless I'm mistaken, you had 3 sets of tires waiting for you, and it looked like the right call was to save a set for that final pit stop. What was your approach to it, and were you surprised with how well you finished, or were you hoping for the win?
Well, my strategy going in was to just double stint my first set of tires because we had to make 4 pit stops for fuel. That was just the way it was going to be. So I was going to run my first fuel tank all the way dry and just kind of go as long as I felt like I should on the second stint on the same set of tires. And they were really worn out, but honestly, I'm sure you guys talked all about it. The caution and restart order kind of messed with my strategy a little bit. So the rest of the race, I was kind of short pitting and trying to make up track position with new tires. So I think from the last caution restart, I was 16th, and green on out, being able to finish third is really good. I didn't really think I'd be able to hold off Jared and Matthew there because I knew that they were on a little bit later of a pit stop strategy, and new tires were quite literally like 2 seconds faster almost. So it was going to be tough. I'm happy to only finish 1.2 back from them, but it was a long, hard-fought battle.
So we go to Watkins Glen next race. How are you feeling about the rest of the season, and if you've got anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, definitely looking forward to Watkins Glen. I prefer road courses over ovals even, so it should be a lot of fun. And these big heavy stock cars on road courses are a complete blast. Lots of throttle control. And yeah, I just want to thank you guys for broadcasting this race, and Justin for putting on the league and all the league sponsors. And yeah, it was a lot of fun.
All right, well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Colin, and congrats on your third place finish.
Thanks.
Well,
speaking of league sponsors, and Joey, I interrupted you.
Well, I was going to say, if you liked tonight's racing action, make sure to turn on the Burn 'em Down podcast with Greg Dreiss. It's every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Available on Twitch, Spotify, SiriusXM, tune in on Apple, as well as YouTube. So if you like these Gen 4 cars, just like iRacing, you like the Rolling Thunder Racing Series, or even the money races, go listen with Greg Dreiss every Tuesday night. And if you want to win some money, November 16th, Rolling Thunder has another racing series. I shouldn't say racing series, another money race going on. $1,000 for the winning team to take it all here. November 16th, go sign up at rollingthunderracingseries.com. The registration closes November 1st. So like I said earlier, go sign up. Back at you, Sam.
Yep, well, that is going to wrap it up here today at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We would like to thank all of the competitors and organisers in the Rolling Thunder Racing Series for putting on today's event and giving us a fantastic show. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts, and there you can see those all listed on your screen. Additional thanks goes out to June Lalonde, who provides us with our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more of her awesome work. Thanks to the team today, Joey, Ryan and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, and you do, you can check us out at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media, and those are listed on the screen. Also, please check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss another moment of exciting racing action here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Our next race for this series will be the same time next Sunday night as we go road course racing at Watkins Glen. We also have upcoming races for our other series listed on screen, so be sure to check those out, mark them down on your calendar, don't miss another second of exciting racing action, and cheer for the number 63 car in the Classic Team Championship Lotus 79 series on Sunday mornings. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.